Did you know that Alia sometimes hides her feelings in Russian? Alia did something incredibly bold for Kuze's sake. In the manga, when Kuze and Alia were planning for their debate against Taniyama, Alia asked Kuze if he and Taniyama were on bad terms. Kuze replied that they shouldn't be, and that Taniyama's aggression towards them was something that he had never seen before. Hearing this, Alia started to feel anxious as she saw the confused look on Kuze's face and didn't know how to comfort him. Kuze went on to reveal Taniyama was most likely angry at him because he switched partners from Yuki to Alia. This made Alia believe that she was the reason for all the trouble Kuze was going through, and she began to think that Kuze had to sacrifice some of his relationships with people from his past just to partner with her. Her guilt made her want to do something for him to make up for it. This caused Alia to ask Kuze if there was anything he wanted her to do for him. Jokingly, Kuze said that he wanted her to hug him and whisper kind words in his ear, but Alia took it seriously. Suddenly, Alia got up from her seat and embraced Kuze in her arms, and she would proceed to apologize to him in Russian, while also begging him not to leave her.
What causes a checkpoint for Subaru's return by death in ReZero? We've seen him switch checkpoints several times throughout his journey, and some of them we've become very familiar with. But what actually causes a checkpoint to be saved at a certain spot? We know that return by death does not care about the fate of anybody besides Subaru, and we know Satella's goal with return by death is to free Subaru from the fate of death or a terrible fate in general, and also that she's our safest guess on who is actually setting the checkpoints for Subaru. So using this information, we can infer that a checkpoint is set as long as Satella thinks certain conditions are met for Subaru. Like, a checkpoint will not be set in any place that Subaru is actually suffering or in pain, so he has to be completely safe. But there's also a mental component to it. Most, if not all, of the checkpoints for Return by Death have been updated after Subaru overcame a huge mental challenge, or was in, or believed he was in, a good place mentally. So basically, I think Return by Death checkpoints rely completely on Satella seeing Subaru's physical and mental well-being being in a good place at a point in time.
Did you know these 3 facts about Gold Ship and Uma Musume? The first fact is something nobody would expect, that being that Gold Ship actually has her own YouTube channel called Pakatu. On the channel, she posts several videos of her just being herself, or sometimes even playing games with the other Umas. The second fact is that Gold Ship has actually cost people a lot of money. In real life, Gold Ship was a very dominant racehorse, but just like in the anime, he had a very restless personality. During one race, this personality cost him, and when fans bet a combined 12 billion yen on him to win, he got distracted and started late, losing the race and causing the fans to lose all their money. The final fact has to do with Gold Ship's obsession with Rubik's Cubes, as she can be seen trying to solve them almost all the time in the anime. This is because the real-life Gold Ship, despite being restless, was actually pretty clever, so the producers of the anime decided to give her an obsession with Rubik's Cubes to represent that. What are Escanor's true powers in the 7 deadly sins? Known as the strongest human and the mightiest member of the sins, his magic sunshine makes him grow stronger as the sun rises. At dawn, his strength and body begin to expand until he radiates heat so intense it melts armor and evaporates lakes. Enemies like Galand and Melascula were effortlessly destroyed when his power awakened, and even Meliodas admitted that Escanor at his peak far surpassed him. By noon, he reaches his ultimate state called the One, where for 1 minute he becomes the embodiment of power itself. In this form, he defeated Meliodas in assault mode and even destroyed Zeldris' ominous nebula with his bare hand. His axe Rita, too heavy for others to lift, swings like a feather in his grip. But that's not even him at his strongest. He has another form called the One, Ultimate. After noon, if he uses his own life force as magic power, Escanor can keep the One active, but also boost it to be even stronger than before. However, this is only a last resort, and if he uses it, he will die. At the end of the day, when the sun sets, Escanor's power fades, and he becomes weaker than anyone else with a power level of 15. Did you know that in ReZero, Subaru wants to take Rem as his second wife? In the light novel, while they were waiting for the white whale to arrive at Flugeltree, Subaru and Rem were talking. During their conversation, Rem shows Subaru how deep her love for him really is, as she tells him that she is a person that he doesn't have to lie to, as she will always believe in him with all of her heart. and says that if Subaru says something will happen, she believes it will happen with 100% certainty, and he doesn't have to worry about convincing her it will. Hearing those things caused Subaru to feel somewhat flustered, and towards the end of their conversation, Rem says that she wants to be the person that can bear a little bit of the burden that Subaru carries with him. In response to that, Subaru tells Rem that he loves Amelia. However, he admits that despite that, whenever he looks at Rem, his heart flutters. It was then when Rem would tell him that she was okay with being his second wife, and Subaru told her that he was okay with it as long as Amelia was fine with it too. After hearing that, Rem promised Subaru that she would try her best to persuade Amelia after they all reunited. What did each of the sins do while they were in hiding from Leonis and the 7 deadly sins? All of the sins were betrayed and set up by the Holy Knights and were forced to go into hiding, with some sins starting successful ventures and another vowing to get revenge on another sin. For Meliodas, he was knocked unconscious by Merlin and had his powers stolen by her. After he woke up, he was in a cave where he met Hawk, and the two of them decided to start a restaurant on the top of Hawkmama using funds from selling Meliodas' sacred treasure. Merlin fled all the way to the kingdom of Camelot, where she met Arthur for the first time. It was during this time that she realized he was the perfect candidate to become a host for chaos, and that he was exactly what she needed to execute her plan. So she helped him grow stronger. Bond became depressed and intentionally let himself get arrested, where he spent the years in prison, occasionally escaping to donate blood to the Fairy King's forest, but always getting recaptured. Escanor decided to flee to the mountains and start a secret bar. Despite its location, it did end up receiving some business, as he had to make several deliveries, and he kept it well maintained. Gowther was taken into the care of a young boy and his father after encountering a crazed beast and covering it in his armor and being injured. He was hired by the boy's father to look after the kid. Diane was able to escape to the forest of White Dreams, where she forced the hide and seek imps to hide her in the forest. King returned to his hometown, where he found out that a bandit had stolen the Fountain of Youth and unalived the guardian saint. Later, he was informed that that person was Bond and decided to get revenge. Did you know that in ReZero, the real reason why Rem unalived Subaru in his second mansion loop, even though they seemed to get along? During this loop, when Rem and Subaru were on their way back to the mansion from the village, the two of them would get into a conversation about demons. During this conversation, Subaru was able to make Rem smile, which was rare at the time due to her poor mental state, and the two of them were even able to joke with each other. Despite their wholesome interaction, Rem would unalive Subaru later that night after she found him wandering the halls of the mansion. The reason for this is most likely because she was still very suspicious of him even after their previous interaction, as when she found him in the mansion that night, he was making his way to Amelia's room. Not only this, but the witch's scent on Subaru in this loop was even stronger than it was in his previous loop, due to him returning by death, automatically making Rem more suspicious of him to start the loop, and it was most likely a combination of him being suspicious that night and her hatred for the witch's cult that she unalived him. Did you know that in More Than a Married Couple, but Not Lovers, Jiro finally started to act like Akari's boyfriend? The two of them were invited to a group dinner after the sports festival. At first, Jiro was nervous about going out with extroverts and sat waiting alone, but everything changed when Akari stepped out dressed up and full of energy. He couldn't stop staring, but for the wrong reason. It was because he thought her outfit was too revealing. The main problem was that she was going out wearing it. He even asked her to change because of it. For the first time, Jiro admitted he did not want others looking at her that way, and it left Akari blushing. She called him out for suddenly acting like her boyfriend, and it left him speechless. But after some silence, she told him to wait for her at the front door, and she went to change. Akari came out in a new, less revealing outfit. As they walked to the restaurant together, Akari thanked Jiro because she realized it was because he cared and worried about her that the outfit made him upset. Did you know that in Mushoku Tensei, the timeline shown in the story isn't the original one? 2 years after Paul passed, the man-god visited Rudius asking for a favor. The favor was for Rudius to check his basement, and because the man-god seemed to have given Rudius good advice on his journey so far, he decided he would do the one thing the man-god asked him in return. Right as he was about to leave to go to the basement, a voice stopped him. Rudius turned around to see an old man he'd never seen before, and when asked who he was, the man replied with Rudius's name from his past life. The man would go on to reveal how he was actually Rudius from the future, and how him fulfilling the man-god's favor led to the destruction of his life. He mentions that opening the door to his basement would let out a rat, and that rat would cause the deaths of Roxy, Sylphie, Cliff, Zenoba, Eris, Ariel, and more. He explains to Rudius that he invented time travel magic to come all the way back to prevent Rudius from experiencing that same fate. He adds that his true enemy is the man-god, who is actively trying to prevent Rudius from having a family, and that he should listen to 3 pieces of advice. Those were: consult with Nanahoshi, send a letter to Eris, and doubt the man-god but do not oppose him.
Did you know the differences between every sword style in Mushoku Tensei? There's 3 different styles that people can learn, and some people can master all 3, but they're all very different, and they go to show how good the world building in Mushoku Tensei really is. First, there's the Water God style. This style really specializes in defense, with a focus on parrying and counterattacking. And they're also kind of rage baiters. Because of the nature of their style, they focus more on counterattacking, so they have to find ways to provoke their opponent and have them make the first move. Then you have its polar opposite, the Sword God style, and it's the style that both Eris and Ghislaine specialize in. This style follows the belief that victory goes to he who moves first, which also happens to be its motto. It focuses on taking their opponent down in a single strike, so people that only focus on training in this style pretty much have no defense. But this style really suits aggressive people, so I think we can all agree that Eris is basically a perfect fit for it. And finally, the most unique style, the North God style. This style is basically just fighting dirty, as it solely focuses on staying alive and fighting to give yourself the highest chance of winning, resulting in users using tricks or dirty tactics to win instead of actual technique.